All right, guys, today we're going to go ahead and listen to Coach Taylor explain the offseason, what they need to do for the Cincinnati Bengals, and also explain the whole Joe Burrow contract. Now, obviously, he can't get too much into details that we want him to because, at the end of the day, he can't release everything. I mean, I think it's said best by Eric DeCosta of the Baltimore Ravens, where he said negotiations are always private. You can't make those things, out there and people hearing. So, with that being said, I do have to have this little thing on the screen because obviously, yes, the NFL will take down my video if I don't. But I want to go ahead and listen to Coach Taylor. So, you're going to see Coach Taylor's in the middle, and then there's two reporters on the right and left asking him questions. He also talks about the T. Higgins trade rumors and also Joe Mixon's possible future with the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's go ahead and listen up to Coach Taylor.
With Pete Prisco alongside Bengals head coach Zach Taylor. Zach, first of all, thank you very much for joining us, of course. We'll start with this, Zach. You guys have been so close these past 2 years. There's incredible expectations. There's relevancy with the Cincinnati Bengals. There's also the whole point of getting over the hump. How do you manage those expectations with how you guys have to take that final last step?
Well, our players believe in what we're doing, and yeah, we've been close the last 2 years, haven't gotten it done. But there's a belief that we got the right people in the building to keep attacking it, and it's a hard process that you really got to start over every single May, and get your team back and get back to the foundation of the things that we believe in. But we got a good group of men, and I think that we'll keep fighting for these championships.
Zach, this is crazy.
That, my friend, is called a winning culture. You create a winning culture, you don't have to worry about that at all.
Talk time. There's a lot of stuff out there. As it relates to your team, T. Higgins going to be traded. Joe Mixon's not going to be back. Can you touch on both of those guys?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes things are kind of made up out of thin air, and so they don't all deserve a response. But we got a great collection of talent, and there's always going to be narratives and headlines around those players, and how can you keep so many great players. And I think we've always got a great plan in place to let those guys be a big part of what we do.
With Joe Burrow, I can't believe it's been 3 questions and we're finally asking about Joe Burrow. But obviously, there's going to be a lot of contract talk. I'm not going to ask you about his contract because I don't think that you're going to tell us much. But how do you manage the potential, let's call it distraction, or just how big of a story it is with this team?
It's a story, but it's not a distraction. We got a lot of great players who are always undergoing contract negotiations, and I think that's what's so special about our group is they're not distracted by the outside noise. They get in the locker room, they put their work in, they like being around each other, and whatever narratives fly outside the building, so be it. That's part of being in the NFL.
I will stop it right here. This is the problem with the Ravens, how this is Lamar Jackson, right? There's now division on the team between not signing Lamar, and you're creating this whole entire rift for the whole Ravens. The Ravens are falling apart. If you're a Bengals fan, you got to be so happy about the Ravens right now because we're falling apart at the seam. We're absolutely crushing ourselves in. And a lot of the reasons why is because our ownership isn't, they don't create this culture that Cincinnati creates where it's like, it's we go to work, we fight for whatever, we get our job done, we want to win a ring. That's it. If we're working on contracts, we'll work like grown men on contracts. If we don't get a contract signed, you don't get a contract signed. You're not creating this drama club, high school drama club narrative and splitting the whole locker room. And that's why, again, like he said, it's not going to create a distraction because we're going to go to work. We know we're going to get stuff done, and that's going to be that. Everyone is respectful and knowledgeable of each other.
When I go back to last season, I think about the appendectomy that Joe had, right? And I look at how his season ended. If that hadn't happened, is he an NFL MVP this year?
That's impossible for me to predict. I'd certainly support that he's an MVP type of player. He has that type of season for us really the last 2 years. However the votes fall is out of our control, but we're certainly happy with the way that he performs for us.
I talked to you about this before in the past, about the perception of the Bengals organization from the outside. You guys have won the last 2 years. You haven't won it all, but you've become a winning team. Do you think that perception has changed about the organization?
It's good for people to say good things about you and believe in what you're doing. We feel like we just got to keep winning, and maybe we turn over one person at a time. But again, that's not why we do it. We know that the people in Cincinnati and our fan base support what we're doing and like what we're doing, and that's what's important to us. And whatever the national narrative it is whatever it's going to be. But we have a really fun team. We got guys that are easy to pull for. They work really hard, and we're really proud to represent Cincinnati.
But to Pete.
And it's just a fact of the matter is the Ravens, the Bengals, we're never going to get the respect we deserve. It's just how it's going to be for a billion, trillion years. We're not the sexy, flashy team that the NFL wants in the Super Bowl. We're not the sexy, flashy team. We don't play like... I mean, look at the wild card game between the Ravens and the Bengals, right? That was a hard-fought AFC North football. That's not what the NFL wants. The NFL wants a 46. They want the Super Bowl. They want the Eagles-Chiefs 38-35. That's what the NFL wants. They don't want a low-scoring AFC North back-and-forth football because that's not going to keep people interested. That's not going to keep people buying tickets. It is what it is. We're never going to get the respect we deserve. It's just what we have to deal with.
Pete's point on this, whether it's a national narrative or not, it does help that you guys are winning, that you are relevant for free agency as well. That it's not, Cincinnati wants to talk to you. It's, hey, Bengals want to talk to you. When you are meeting with these agents, if players come out to Indy or whatever, I mean, does that not help, especially when we're talking about free agency?
It certainly doesn't hurt. I think players around the league and other people around the league see that we can win games, and we really enjoy the process. Our players genuinely like what we're doing and have fun, and we want their personalities to shine through. We don't want to limit that stuff. We got great personalities. They've really affected, probably generations of children in the Cincinnati and Ohio area. So I like for those personalities to be shown. Maybe people around the league see that. Hey, you can come to Cincinnati and be who you want to be, and we'll support that. And it's been fun going through that process with our players.
Don't you show a little personality? You go to the bar after the game and have a little good old time with the fellas, right?
I have very limited personality. I'm usually in those bars for about 4 or 5 minutes max. But it is good. We don't ever get to really enjoy that time. We usually play the game. It's a fun game, and then you go home and you get back the next day. So to be able to get that peek into what our community is like immediately after a game has been really fun for me to partake in the last 2 years.
You guys have a lot of free agents who are up. I mean, Jesse Bates, both safeties are up, Eli Apple, Pratt. I mean, you got a lot of guys that are up. How do you handle wanting to keep a player who's been around for a while and realizing with the cap and with Joe Burrow's contract coming up, it's going to be tough to do? Yeah,
that's the situation we find ourselves in, and I think when you've got a really good team, you're going to have a lot of players that are worthy of being paid good contracts, and so that's a process that we're undertaking now of trying to put together our best team for next season and seasons beyond. And those guys, all you mentioned, have been a big part of us winning and a big part of the culture we've created in the locker room. And so now you just undergo the process of trying to put your best team on the field next year.
What would it mean for you, for the coaching staff, for the quarterback, for the entire organization to keep this wide receiver trio together of Jamar Chase and Boyd and Higgins?
It's a great group of weapons, and in some cases I'm the head coach. I'm also called to plays as well, so they make my job a lot easier. I fight for those guys. I love being around those guys. They work as hard as any position group in the league. I think Troy Walters, our receiver coach, does a great job of being demanding of them, forming a great relationship with them and getting the most out of them, and they're willing to put in all the work to be great players. And so it's just a fun trio to be around.
Your offensive line, you seemed like you went into the year feeling like you had solved a lot of the problems that were there the year before. Then you had a ton of injuries on the offensive line.
This is a moment where they're showing a graphic. I just want to make sure we look at the graphic. So here's his 2019-2020 overall 625-1. His on the road is 114-1. Holy crap! Joe Shiesty, man! Joe freaking Shiesty! 27-13, 14-7. You got, man, wow, that's actually crazy.
Where are you with that group right now? I know Lyle Collins suffered a major injury.
Yeah, those guys are all under contract coming back, and like you said, we had those guys consistently through, I think, the first 15 weeks, and then lost both tackles and a guard, going into the playoffs, and that's what a lot of teams deal with, so you got to have depth here. We've drafted depth over the years. Those guys got to continue to develop and come on, and they got their opportunities in the playoffs and did a good job for us, and so you just got to continue to develop that group.
As you have been able to reflect over the past month since the season came to an end, what have you learned about what this Bengals team needs this upcoming year, what's your biggest off-season priority as the head coach?
I think the guys that we got to continue to grow and improve at every position. We're going to continue to add pieces over the next 3 months. They're going to help us. And again, just finding the right pieces of the puzzle to put our best team on the field come August, and continue to develop the young talent that we got on this team. And again, we've the 2 losses we've had in bowl seasons have really come down to the last minute of the game. So we're really close. We believe that. We just got to fight and claw to get back in those positions.
We're here in Indianapolis. We got to ask about the draft. And what are your ideas on this draft class? Where's sort of the depth so far? Where's the value in this class?
Yeah, a little hard for me to say. I'm about 2 weeks into that process myself, and so I'm kind of getting my feet wet there. Duke and our scouting department have done a great job of getting us up to speed to be in a position to learn more about the guys this week. And then as we go back through over the next 30 days, we go to pro days and we get really in depth on these guys. So we got a pretty good baseline on what's going on here. I can't give you the insight into what's the best positions, not the best positions so far, but it's a process I really enjoy, getting caught up to speed with Duke and his crew, and it's a fun thing to take part in.
How nice is it to come here and not have to worry about the quarterback position? That has to be nice as a head coach.
Yeah, that's good. It's something you always got to be aware of because you're going to play against these guys, so you want to do your work there. But to know that you're really not up against it, figuring out which one's the best one and the best fit for you is nice to have that piece in place. And so again, we love that Joe is a part of what we're doing.
A lot of colleagues of yours aren't coming out to the combine. A lot of head coaches have just decided, our time is better served being in the offices and working with the staff. Why have you decided that this is where you need to be?
Well, we love being part of this process. We love getting to know these prospects, getting in these interviews, getting to watch them live, perform on the field. Some of our coaches are on the field helping with the drills. So any bit of insight we can get to help us draft the best class, we're going to take it. I enjoy it's only an hour and a half away from us, so we got guys that drive back and forth for the interviews and the workouts, and so having it here in Indy is great for our staff.
If a guy doesn't work out, do you hold that against them?
I think that's just one piece of the puzzle, so you just group everything in together. It's hard to say on an isolated incident, so again, you want the guys to work out and put the best foot forward so you can see everything you can about them. But again, you're going to watch the game tape, you're going to watch the All-Star game tape, you're going to watch the pro days, the combine workout. It's all part of the process to form an opinion on a player.
Pete Prisco knows about watching the tape, so does Cincinnati Bengals head coach Zach Taylor. Zach, thanks so much for the time.
And I think, again, like I said, that's why I always love when listening to Coach Taylor. He has a very smart football mind. So it's good to see. It's nice to see insight on him. And he also knows what to say. He doesn't say nonsense. But I do want to go back to the beginning of this because I want to pull up this graphic. So this is the graphic with and without Joe Burrow. So with Burrow, they're 5-2, playoff history-wise. Road wins is 3-1. Conference champs is 2. Without Burrow, 5-14. 0-7 road win-loss ratio. And then 2 conference champions, obviously. So, overall-wise, that was beautifully said. And we'll talk about on this channel as much as humanly possible all the different prospects, all the different players that, the Bengals could be targeting. And it's going to be a really interesting offseason. I just read a whole entire article how it looks like, especially because they're going to have to try to figure out Joe Burrow's extension. A lot of times you have players or teams will get done contract before free agency. Obviously, because you don't want those players to hit the open market because you never know what's going to happen when a player hits the open market. Well, because of this contract staying with Burrow and the fact it's not done yet, the Bengals might let Jermaine Pratt, Von Bell, and all these free agents hit the open market and then try to get them back by offering them contracts when they hit the open market, which is not usually how teams do it. They usually like to get it done right now, but the problem is free agency is in 12 days. And, if you have free agency in 12 days and, you have to get this contract extension done before that, it will get done in 12 days. It's possible, but you got to keep in mind that after they get done the contract extension, they got to finalize these contracts, and these contracts take a while to finalize, especially with some of these players. It's not like just, okay, I want blank and that's it. A lot of it's going back and forth. So we might not see some of these Bengals. Actually, they might be hitting the open market. Now, again, I don't think that's too big of a deal, but the reason why you don't want it to happen is because, let's say, for example, I don't know, Von Bell, the Bengals are like, all right, we're going to get you back on $6, $7, $8 million. He might hit the open market, and then Atlanta might say, hey, listen, Bell, we kind of like you at like 12. And since he might not be able to keep certain players. So it's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening. Again, they just got to get this contract extension done with Joe Burrow, get this figured out, and then obviously they're going to get T, but T isn't as important as Burrow. Burrow is the most important right now. Get Burrow his contract extension done, then you can worry about T, then you can worry about free agents, worry about other stuff. But there's a lot of things to talk about this offseason. So again, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are indeed new, because this channel, we're going to cover all Cincinnati Bengals stuff, news, information. Anytime something drops, we'll be covering on the channel. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys next one. Peace.